Good morning, and please join us as we welcome Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Norman, to our studio for his second visit of the school year. It's very nice to see you, Dr. Norman.
Likewise, thank you.
We understand that you have a long history of military service. Would you please share some highlights from your military career?
Yes, it is true that I do have a long, extensive military career. I started my career as a young man. I was actually in college when I joined the Alabama Army National Guard. And what I want to point out with my career as it relates to service is as a guardsman, you have what's considered two missions. You have a state mission and you have a federal mission. Now, the state mission is when you see guardsmen working storms, floods, those types of things. When you see guardsmen deployed overseas, they're carrying out their actual federal mission. So my career spans over 30 years, and I've worked on lots of storms, floods, civil disturbances, and I've also deployed to several overseas conflicts, serving out through my federal mission, which include Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Operation Iraqi 3.
So, Veterans Day is celebrated on November 11th. What does the term veteran mean to you?
I'm glad you asked that question. A veteran is anyone who has served in our armed forces. Oftentimes people confuse the two. You do not have to serve in a foreign war to be considered a veteran. Anyone who has served in our armed forces is considered a veteran.
And what would you say is the purpose of Veterans Day?
Oh, great question. I love that question. So the purpose of Veterans Day is for our nation to take pause and thank our men and women who serve in our armed forces. It's a national holiday, it's a state holiday, and it was intended for the entire nation to stop, take pause, and say thank you to our brave men and women who serve our country every day.
So can you tell us a little bit about how Veterans Day became a national holiday?
Sure, that's another great question. So, Veterans Day started on November 11th, 1918, with the Armistice Agreement. Now, the Armistice Agreement simply was an agreement for both sides to stop fighting. And this happened during World War I. Oftentimes, people confuse Armistice Day with Veterans Day. But when Veterans Day was first formed, it was called Armistice Day. But people eventually wanted to change the name to recognize the veterans. So the name was changed to Veterans Day. And oftentimes, the way that I tend to remember the facts relating to Veterans Day is 11. So the armistice was agreed upon on the 11th month, the 11th day, at the 11th hour. Thus, why we celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th, regardless of the day.
And as a veteran yourself with this more recent holiday, what is the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day?
I really applaud you all for asking such great questions. So simply put, Veterans Day is designed to thank the living veterans, even though it does acknowledge those that have passed on as well. But Memorial Day is designed to thank our deceased veterans. Memorial Day was often referred to as Decoration Day. Memorial Day is a time to visit grave sites. You'll see that on TV where people put wreaths along graves and those types of things. They're honoring and acknowledging our veterans that have passed on. Veterans Day, on the other hand, is to acknowledge and thank our living veterans.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for letting us ask you these questions.
Yes, it has been my pleasure. But before we go, of course I have some questions for you. Of course I do. Hey guys, I do. So, while Veterans Day is a day to honor those who have served in the military, each of us can make a difference. I have a few questions to ask you. First, what does it mean for you to have a heart of service? What does that mean to you?
I'm not really familiar with the term, but from the words in the term, I feel like it's somebody that just has a heart to aid and service other people, no matter the cost, you know, like a good moral person. I don't know. What's your answer, Andrew?
I think to have a good heart of service, one would need to have things that is required of loyal service. Is loyalty, is commitment, is honor, is a sense of duty to everyone around them instead of just one particular goal.
Great answer. Great answer. Can you share a time when you helped someone or volunteered?
I volunteer every year with the school to sing the national anthem for Memorial Day at a cemetery, and I don't know, it's a really great experience because it kind of, you can see everyone just together and like appreciating and remembering their loved ones that were in the military.
As for myself, I grew up as a part of the Salvation Army, so donating and charities have been something I've lived through my entire life. Especially when I was younger, I would help around with packaging gifts, normally for Christmas time, where we would give them to homeless shelters, to orphanages, where, especially just last year, I spent around 12 hours with my mom and her coworkers in a storage building, just wrapping presents for thousands of people.
So now as young adults, how would you say those experiences have impacted you?
It's definitely, actually wait, I need to think of my answer.
I would say it's helped build a good idea of what you mentioned earlier, which is a heart of service, to help all people, no matter what they're going through, no matter what you're going through. You're not the center of things. There's a world around you, and people need to be helped no matter what.
That's great.
I'm gonna backpack off of you and say I agree, and it definitely makes you more aware of the people around you and think more about this benefits me, but also what can I do to help people that need it more than me, if that makes sense.
Do either of you have family members serving in the armed forces?
I do. I have a cousin, and he is in the Navy.
I have a cousin in the Air Force, and he marks the 8th straight generation of military in my family.
Well, thank your family members on my behalf for their service as well. In what ways do you think serving others can contribute to your personal growth?
I think that serving others gives, even to us who are fortunate enough to live like this, where we can do these things that we love, really just because of our own creativity, I think it definitely helps give a sort of, it makes us humble that there are people who have less, and we can help others just by doing small things or big things or whatever is needed.
Indeed it does.
And it's not like you always have to help on a bigger scale. Like helping service to somebody could just be talking to them for the day. Some service to somebody can just be saying hi to them in the hallway, because like that could make somebody's whole day. Or it could be seeing someone who is less fortunate than you in public and offering them things that they need, and like seeing if you can help them like that as well.
Thank you all so much for those answers, and I appreciate what you do for our community, not just our school community, but our community at large. Service is key, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.